Hi everyone! I will be presenting on Chapter 10 of Seth Seigel's Troubled Water, New Ideas Needed, which focuses on possible solutions to the drinking water issues America is currently facing. With water needs all across the world growing due to aged pipes, rising population, and climate-induced need to augment water supplies, it is time America puts a bigger emphasis on access to drinking water. In doing this, there is opportunity for economic growth, public health improvement, and positive environmental impacts. Three key areas to focus on new ideas for our drinking water improvements are consolidation of water utility operations, improvements on technology and practices in drinking water treatment and testing, and different allocations of power and funding. About 300 million Americans get their drinking water from one of around 50,000 water utilities. On average, that's 16 drinking water facilities per county. You can see from my graph here just how inflated the amount of facilities is in comparison to other utilities or groups that manage the same amounts of people. The big issue with this is that it allows many of the utilities to be small utility companies. As discussed in previous chapters, the smaller a facility is, the lower its capacity is to provide advanced technologies, resources, staff, and therefore provide safe drinking water in compliance with the Safe Drinking Water Act. In fact, the law lowers itself for these smaller entities. They're permitted to apply for testing exemption from the EPA, and when testing does occur and a contaminant is found, if the facility can show that eliminating or reducing the contaminant would be beyond current or technical abilities, the EPA allows them to defer an obligation to rapidly fix the problem. Smaller utilities also have trouble attracting and retaining employees with high-level skills. They don't have financial reserves for emergency repairs and lack the expertise needed to borrow significant amounts of outside funding. There's no determined number on how few water facilities should exist in each state, but consolidation would allow economically poor areas to have access to capital and improvement. Currently, all water utilities are operating under an honor system, meaning that they select how, where, and when to sample. This can encourage dishonest practices and reduce reliability of sample collection and processing. Improper sample collection and processing gives citizens a false sense of security that diminishes concern and gives them no reason to learn more about their water or demand professional water testing. A lot of at-home lead testing is performed by homeowners and provides pleasing results, but when professionals test the same water sources, they often detect high levels of lead in samples homeowners detected none in. So, highly skilled independent samples should test both water distribution facilities and random homes. And testing should be done in areas of concern or in locations of highest risk, such as Flint, Michigan, or cities with old pipes. While fixing water utilities is extremely important, not all Americans drink utility-treated water. 43 million Americans get most or all of their water from private wells. Shockingly, the EPA does not require any kind of testing from private well water, and the Safe Drinking Water Act does not even apply to these sources. There are no national regulations regarding how water from private wells should be treated to promote the optimal health outcomes. Even worse, the EPA doesn't even offer criteria on how to manage a well or draw water from it. While wells do not require any monitoring or testing, a study done by the U.S. Geological Survey from 1991 to 2004 surveyed about 2,000 out of 13 million wells throughout the country and concluded that 1 in 4 wells suffer from chemical contamination more concentrated than what would be considered safe at a water utility. Aside from natural elements such as arsenic or radon that are common in rural drinking water, this study proved that agricultural, industrial, and domestic runoff are all sources of contamination to private wells. This image pictures common well water contaminations that affect health of Americans. And to me, the most shocking and frightening aspect of this photo is the use of the word common. The study I discussed on the previous slide is getting close to being 10 years old now, so there is no way to know what the condition of well water is across the country at this time. A small study done in 2018 found that 42% of Wisconsin wells were contaminated with a variety of agricultural contaminants such as E. coli. Water straight from a Wisconsin resident's tap at the time is pictured on the right. This study indicates that there has been an increase in well pollutants and that testing should be done more frequently. In fact, a recent study by the USGS projects that 2.1 million people are drinking water from wells that contain high levels of arsenic. With so many areas of concern for well water contamination and proof that contaminants are invading well water, additional testing should be done on the safety of well water. Data should be collected as a basis for making policy, and a federal agency should be available to assist in testing and treating well water. Even with improving utility in private well water, there is still an issue of water scarcity. There are 3 crucial improvements that need to be done to tackle this, including replacement of old pipes with high-tech ones, reuse of sewage water, and atmospheric water generation. America is getting ready to replace a large chunk of its infrastructure in the upcoming years due to weathering of materials and recently discovered issues such as lead pipe contamination. We should try to replace old pipes with smart ones, such as the one pictured on the right, that utilize technology that we are already using on household appliances and in other industries, so that these pipes can detect leaks, save on water loss, reduce energy needed for transport, and report on other conditions of the pipe. As Bridget mentioned last week, there is successful technology that can treat sewage for drinking and other purposes. This technology needs to be expanded so that dry regions of the country that have frequently faced drought have access to clean drinking water no matter the climate. Another promising technology that should further be researched is atmospheric water generation, which is drawing pure, uncontaminated water out of moisture in the air. Moisture is most abundant in the air at night, and given that electricity prices drop after midnight, running these devices can be done with cheaper energy that might otherwise go to waste. These could help alleviate the urgent need for water pipe replacement or advancement of water utility treatment. A reason we haven't made technological advancement is that we haven't seen enough research in drinking water. In order to change that, we may need to consider moving the responsibility out of the Environmental Protection Agency. When the Safe Water Drinking Act was made, the EPA was considered part of the nation's public health infrastructure. However, the EPA is now less concerned with public health and more concerned on the cost-benefit analysis that measures threats from contaminants versus the effect of regulating that pollutant. Health should be a main concern for America's drinking water, so it should fall under the supervision of the Department of Health and Human Services. This would isolate drinking water research from political pressure, stop interference of funding from federal agencies that are responsible for contamination, and benefit from being close to other science-based agencies whose main responsibility is public health. For the 2019 federal budget, slightly less than $3.6 million is dedicated for drinking water research, compared to the $15 million a year research budget for independent non-industry drinking water contaminants and the rise of new chemicals and compounds that are constantly entering the market. America is not putting enough money into drinking water. This independent funding source could be done by adding small amounts of tax to water people are already paying for. For example, an additional 2 cents per disposable bottled water container would yield about $1.4 billion per year, and changing an extra penny per 1,000 gallons of water would yield $355 million per day. It would be difficult for a consumer to notice this slight change in price, but the totality of these funds would allow for great improvements in drinking water research and may even incentivize people to use less water. In order for safe drinking water to be taken more seriously, amendments to the 1996 Safe Drinking Water Act should be done. 1996 amendments capped how much research the EPA permitted for drinking water contaminants. This should, if anything, be removed and, if possible, be changed to encourage more research on the topic. The amendments also prevented consumers to open lawsuit against a water utility under the Safe Water Drinking Act regarding a contaminant that is unregulated or is still being considered for regulation. Congress should allow consumers to sue their utilities if any health risk is found in drinking water, regardless of regulation. In addition, consumers need better understanding of the health of their water. The Consumer Confidence Reports added to the 1996 amendments to enhance transparency and promote consumer education are currently incomprehensible for the common citizen. This law should be revised to require water utilities to clearly explain the contaminants found and the risks they present, and present this information online to the public real time. The final most important change to providing access for drinking water to all Americans is to provide water vouchers for poor citizens. Even at current prices, drinking water is still too expensive for many low-income residents. In 2016, 15 million people were estimated to be without water for a certain period of time due to not being able to afford their water bills. And as you can see on the right, by 2018, there were 41 million households at risk for not having access to clean water. America provides housing for the homeless, Medicare for people who cannot afford health care, and welfare assistance for food and clothing because all of those are considered a human right. Water is a human right as well, and it is time America started treating it that way. A lot of great topics were covered in this chapter of Troubled Water. Now we need to work on implementing these ideas in order to make this happen. We need people who are involved and concerned about America's right to clean drinking water. Thanks for listening.